Hello and welcome to the SportsByte podcast. This is new for the 2018-19 season, where we will be talking all things football, starting with Sunderland, and then we'll be talking about the non-league, going Gateshead, Blyth, Wearside League, Northern League, covering all the teams in the area, maybe even basketball, ice hockey and university sports if a varsity or whatnot's coming up. I'm joined by the current SportsByte editor, Chris Thornley. How are you, Chris?
Hi Connor, yeah, very well, thank you.
Yeah, good to be in the studio.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. I think we're co-editors now, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely co. Do you want to move your microphone a little bit closer to your face?
How's that?
Yeah, that's fair. And I might even edit that out.
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
So we'll talk a little bit about Sunderland. Have you been keeping tabs on what's happening across the road at the Stadium Light?
I have been keeping tabs. Yeah, I've been producing content for the SportsByte website, so I've had to kind of keep a close eye on how they've been doing in the third tier. And yeah, it's been a pretty good start to the season. Yeah.
Game at the weekend, 3-0 against Scunthorpe. What was your views on that one? Is that going to be what it's like this year?
Well, I think that's probably the first time where Sunderland's real class at this level's properly shone through. The kind of the gulf between Sunderland and Scunthorpe was pretty evident. I mean, you got players like Brian Oviedo on the pitch, who's obviously just played at a World Cup, and Scunthorpe can't field anybody of that kind of ilk. So I would say that potentially at the Stadium Light there could be a lot of games that turn out like that. I think you've got to kind of be wary of the fact that teams travelling to the Stadium Light as well almost treat that as their cup final for the season, because it's such a big stadium. Sunderland is such a big club. They're obviously going to try and raise their game, but that's kind of what Jack Ross will be kind of pleased about, I guess. It kind of properly tests the players, and he'll be able to rotate the squad accordingly, because I think he's got a good squad available to him now. So yeah, I think obviously it's going to be tough to kind of maintain that level of performance at the weekend, but it's definitely a positive start. Yeah.
And what do you make of Jack Ross so far? His business, to be fair, is a good starting point.
Yeah, I think he kind of ticked all the boxes he wanted to in terms of bringing the players in. I think once Charlie White's fit and firing, you'll see a kind of, I guess, a more rounded attack. I think Josh Meyer's done superbly well so far, but I don't know if you can rely on him to play all season, especially given how young he is and relatively inexperienced. I like the look of Jack Baldwin. I think he's very good. I like the look of McLaughlin as well. So it's a nice change for Sunderland to have someone in nets this season who
can catch a ball.
Yeah, who you're confident will keep the ball out. Who else do I like? I like obviously Max Power's a fantastic signing for this level.
Good goal at the weekend.
Really good goal at the weekend. Yeah, I mean, I was quite surprised initially that Wigan kind of let him go, but it's one of those where he may be almost too good for League One, but not quite good enough to make the step up to the Championship.
He's never really been given that fair crack in the Championship. But you're right, he scored, I think, 6 goals last season, but when he's played in the Championship, he never scores.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder if maybe he doesn't have that confidence to be as attacking when he's playing for a Championship side. Yeah. But that's a Sunderland's problem, hopefully, next season.
Exactly. It's not really their concern in the short term, and he's obviously going to be a fantastic acquisition for them this campaign. I like Chris Maguire as well. I think he's tenacious.
It's interesting that he was obviously struggled last year at Bury, depending on how you want to call it. And yet he came over to Sunderland, looks like a player capable of playing.
Yeah, well, he had a very good campaign at Oxford, wasn't it? The previous year at this level. So he's obviously got the kind of pedigree to be a productive goal scorer at League One level, and I guess it's just about getting the best out of him. I think his versatility's also a good asset for him. He was quite impressive, I thought, against Sheffield Wednesday, leading the line. Yeah, maybe not quite got the cutting edge you need to be a striker at that level, but he's got some attributes that will kind of shine through, I think, this season. I'm trying to think who else Sunderland bought. Ozturk looks a bit iffy, but he's just going to he's one for depth, really.
I think he's probably going to be the third or fourth.
Yeah, and I know you said off air that you kind of wanted Sunderland maybe to get another centre back in, because kind of Flanagan, who's injured at the moment, he's probably going to be needed to cover fullback positions,
and he could even cover central midfield. I mean, we've got a lot of central midfield.
We have got a lot of central midfielders, but yeah. So I think all in all, the business has been pretty good. Jerome Sinclair as well. I think he's got a point to prove. Yeah, and this is a good kind of level for him.
Risk-free loan signing.
Exactly, it's kind of no real loss if he doesn't perform, because you've got other strikers and you're not putting all your faith in him. Like, I guess in comparison, you could say someone like Ashley Fletcher last season had a lot to prove, but Sunderland were maybe too reliant on him to get the goals.
He did all right, to be fair.
Yeah, but when he wasn't delivering, they didn't really have the alternatives, whereas this season I think they will do. So,
looking ahead, we've got a game on Wednesday night against Gillingham. Then we've got a game on Saturday against Wimbledon. So two big games there away from home. What's the point return? Should they be looking at 4 points? Is that, or should we go for 6?
Well, I think 6 has got to be the aim, but you couldn't complain too much with 4. If you're looking at every 2 games and looking at taking 4 points from that's going to put you right up at the top end of the table.
92 by the end of the year.
Exactly, it's going to put you right up at the top end come May. I think the interesting thing from these 2 games will be the team selection again. He seems to not quite be set maybe on his central midfield pairing at the moment. I think obviously Max Power's probably played himself into the starting position. It's just who you play alongside him. Catamol's been pretty good in the last
3 games in 6 days for Catamol. Plays on Wednesday, which is a big ask for anyone, but also a player who's had injuries.
Yeah, and then obviously Barley Mumba's been playing there, and he's only 16, so he probably can't play the kind of the quick games in succession that a seasoned pro would be able to.
Last night they played Newcastle last night and got hammered 5-0, but they did give minutes to Embleton and Robson, and Robson is a player who probably could slot in. Yeah,
definitely. I like the look of Robson. I think getting minutes under his belt will be important. He'll have a key role to play this season, I think.
Yeah. So Gillingham, I would say Gillingham of the 2 games is probably the harder one. Sorry. So if they get a draw there, then they have to win at the weekend. But if they win against Gillingham, it does sort of
takes the pressure off a little bit. Yeah,
get back-to-back wins as well is big. You know, if you can if they were to pick up 6 points, then you're looking into that next home game against Oxford the weekend after, and you're thinking, you've got a real chance to make it 4 straight wins, and then it's all just snowballing.
Yeah, it's just momentum. I think momentum at that level is such an important thing. I think turning the Stadium of Light back into a fortress is going to be very important this year as well, because obviously it's well documented the problems Sunderland had at home last season. So if they can get 4 points from these 2 away games, it sends a bit of a message to the rest of the league that Sunderland are going to be a dominant force, I think. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
it'd be good for the city itself.
Yeah,
and everything around it to see a club on the up for a change.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, the more games they win, the more exciting it gets. Really.
Yeah.
Like, I know it is obviously League One, but there's nothing better than seeing your team win, regardless of who you're playing. You can only beat who's in front of you.
Yeah.
And I think this is a very exciting project to be a part of for Sunderland fans and the players they've got now.
No, I agree with you there. The crowds themselves, they've been 30,000, just under 30 there on Sunday, and then Charlton there was 32,000 there. Sunderland fans seem to be buying into everything that the new ownership and management's offering. Do you think that'll just continue to grow? I mean, if they are top of the league, say at Christmas, will the crowds be heading up towards 40?
Yeah, I think you've got to credit the new owners and the way they've gone about things and getting the crowd in, because ultimately that's probably more important than the results. A lot of it is kind of invigorating the city again, getting people through the turnstiles and filling the stadium, because there's nothing more depressing than watching a game in that massive stadium when you can just see empty seat after empty seat, which was kind of a feature of the tail end of the last campaign. So if Sunderland keep winning, the crowds are going to stay and increase, and if they can get back towards the kind of crowds they were attracting in the Premier League, that's only going to be a positive thing. And again, it's kind of, you got to credit the owners and the fans really that they've kind of created something that they want to be a part of.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So what should the expectations be, I suppose, for the season? Is it league championship or bust, or promotion? Is that solely it?
I think promotion's got to be the main aim. Obviously, winning the title will be what they'll be setting out to do, but getting out of League One and back into the Championship's the priority, whichever way they do that. Obviously, they'll want to do that automatically. They won't want to go through the playoff system. And then from there, really, you kind of you just continue to build the squad. I think a lot of the players Sunderland have now are already good enough to play in the Championship if they were required to. I think we were talking about this yesterday, actually, that the young lads, like a lot of them, probably could have got moved to Championship clubs, the likes of Honeyman, Gooch, and
Mumba could probably get one now.
Yeah,
16.
And Josh Meyer potentially could interest some big clubs. But yeah, they've obviously stayed loyal to Sunderland, and that's one of the benefits of having such a productive academy system, is that the players do feel a sense of ownership to something. And as we said, like, it is an exciting thing to be a part of, and Jack Ross has clearly put a lot of faith in the youngsters. They can kind of see the path to the first team as well, the even younger ones. If you look at what Honeyman and Gooch have done and how kind of Robson's knocking on the door, that kind of, it must provide motivation to the ones that are playing for the under-23s and below, that there is a way of getting into the first team, which isn't always the case at a club of Sunderland's stature.
Do you think, with the window approaching now, with the loan window approaching, do you think they need anything? Do you think it depends on if Catamol and Oviedo goes? Do you think they'll definitely need somebody then?
They will.
What about if the squad stays the same? Do they still need a striker? Do they still need maybe a centre-back?
Yeah. Well, I think the worry is that, you probably know better than me, what's the kind of status on Charlie Wyke's injury?
He's apparently looking to be back for the Oxford game, so he'll be missing the 2 this week.
So that's not too bad, but I think the fact that he has shown that he could be a bit injury prone might maybe force, especially with Sinclair being out as well, it might force Jack Ross's hand. But I think they're pretty well set up front.
It's going to be difficult to bring in a striker because the team that'll be loaning one will be going, well, Madja's scoring goals. We know that Wyke's your striker, and you've already got Sinclair in. So where would our striker fit when they're all fit?
Exactly, yeah. So I would be surprised if they did get a striker in. I think, as you said, if Oviedo and Catamol leave, they'll need to get someone in those positions. I think Reece James looked quite good against Sheffield Wednesday, but he's still... Yeah,
he started at centre-back, actually, on Sunday.
Did he? Yeah. Clearly another talented, versatile player, and so maybe left back might be somewhere to look at. Although I was quite impressed with Denver Hume as well. I know he played right back against Sheffield Wednesday, but he's another one that can play either side of the back four.
He's normally a left-sided.
Yeah.
So I suppose he could be the left back. I mean, obviously bringing in James, you would think he would be the starter if Oviedo went.
But yeah, the drop off from Oviedo might, I don't know, it'd be quite stark really. He's a top player, and he provided 2 assists at the weekend. 2 assists,
I think, against Charlton as well.
Yeah, and that was off the bench. So he'd be a miss, and it would be great if Sunderland could keep him. But I don't know. I guess he'll be keeping his options open at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he might also. I don't know Brian Oviedo, but you'd think after the 18 months he's had at the club, he might feel like he owes. If they want to keep him, he might think he owes them that season.
And it would be quite refreshing to see that, really, if someone did kind of take responsibility for what's happened and kind of make it their priority to get them out of the mess, which I think it would be nice to see. But footballers don't tend to operate in that way, so it will be interesting to see. And I think I'd agree with you that probably Sunderland could do with another body at centre-back, because... I quite like the partnership of Baldwin and Louvens, but it is it's a slight drop off once they're out of the question. And Ozturk he's not pulled up any trees yet, but
he's done the opposite.
Yeah, he's he looks a bit calamitous.
You've got a 34-year-old Louvens, which is the worry for me. I think Baldwin looks very good.
Yeah,
there's nothing really you could say negative about him so far, but Louvens, not very good with the ball, to be honest, but very good at everything else. Ozturk just looked slow, and it could be anything. He could be maybe playing through an injury. You don't know what sort of issues these players have, but on the face of it, at the minute, he just doesn't look.
No, he's one of those where you'd probably be prepared to give him a few more chances, but if you don't get someone in and he doesn't kind of prove to be better than the performances we've seen so far, it could leave Sunderland a bit stuck if one of the 2 centre-backs is out for any period of time.
Yeah.
So
I think it was telling at the weekend that they brought on Reece James to play centre back, and would rather have shuffled, I think, Baldwin over to right back, put James in at centre back rather than bring on Ozturk and put.
yeah. Maybe it's just a case of he needs a little bit of time out of the firing line, and he'll come back in, and having done some work on the training ground, because that's the other thing really, is that the players are still kind of
New.
they're learning Jack Ross's system, and for a lot of them each game will almost be the first time they've played together when they change the team, and you've still got players to come back in like Mickey Ock. He's one we haven't mentioned yet, who's obviously going to be a superb option.
Every week we've heard he should be back for the weekend, and it just seems to be dragging on. Is it going to be one of them injuries is it going to be one of them years for him where he's just constantly just seems to be catching up with himself, and he's not really, he had a pre-season but he's not played since that Middlesbrough game, which actually caused his injury. It's a worry that he hasn't came back, but obviously it's not that big of a worry because they are actually winning games. So it's not like they need to desperately bring him in. Maybe he is fit enough to play, but that we'll give you a little bit more time. You don't want to rush you back like what we did with Watmore last year. So I think the results have allowed them to not throw the players back into the firing line, which I think is ultimately it's a positive.
Definitely, the strength and depth in that centre midfield position is it allows Mickey Ock to properly get himself fit, get up to speed. They might give him a few cameo performances in the next few weeks, and then he can kind of start thinking about starting him. And as you say, like, they've got other injuries in the forward positions, likes of Watmore and McGeady, to come back in.
So we haven't even discussed McGeady.
Yeah.
You think about the quality he has current international.
Exactly. He was pretty productive last season, and you think he's only going to be more productive in League One given the opportunity,
provided his head's in the right place.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think Sunderland are pretty well stocked in the forward positions. I think they're pretty well stocked in central midfield as well. It's just possibly defensively they could do with maybe another body, someone on loan at centre half. Would probably be the ideal.
And I had looked at Cameron Bothwick Jackson. He's obviously went to Scunthorpe now. But I think that's the sort of player I wanted them to look at. Somebody who could cover maybe a fullback, like Flanagan can, I suppose, but also cover the centre area. It's strengthened numbers. They don't have any academy players who look ready to make that jump. There isn't a Tom Beadlin who ideally would have stayed, but he left in the summer. For I think it was Dunfermline he went to. So they do look a bit short. At centre back. We're going to move on now to talk about non-league. We'll start from the top. So Gateshead, which is they're currently 5th in the conference. Lost their first game of the weekend against Bromley, my namesake. What have you made of their season so far, Chris?
Yeah, they've been pretty impressive so far, given the kind of complete squad upheaval this summer. You kind of
new owners as well.
Yeah, new owners. A completely different playing squad. I think there's a handful of players that were on the books last season still available to them. You thought as well with the kind of the off the pitch troubles they've had that they might be in danger this season of going down.
A lot of people were saying relegation sort of favourite to in the end.
But if anything, it's been the opposite. Like they started with a win against Maidenhead away from home, which is a very positive result, and then they beat the highly fancied Salford City, which kind of was a very unexpected result, really, and very welcoming 3 points. And then they followed that up with a victory over Dover, and then a draw against Boreham Wood, in which I believe they got a very late equaliser. And then they got their first defeat of the season against Bromley at the weekend. So going into this weekend's game against Leyton Orient,
which is a hard game.
Yeah, really hard game. They're kind of not a team you'd associate with playing at this kind of at the National League level. So I think they've made a pretty impressive start to the season. They've just got to hope that this first defeat doesn't send them spiralling back down the table, really. They need to kind of gather themselves and try and get a positive result from the next game and the games that follow.
But I think they're lucky that they're playing at home on Saturday, and then on the bank holiday Monday they're actually at Halifax, which is a short trip. So of the teams in the league, surprisingly, because of where Gateshead are geographically placed, they're actually probably going to be doing the least travelling. And that could hold them in good stead. And if you look at 4 points this weekend for them, that would really sort of put them in a very good position to to get the points they need to stay up, but also be looking further up the league. I mean, if you can get, say, 12 points from your opening six or so games, you're looking at a very positive.
Yeah,
positive
definitely.
Season.
Yeah, starting the league well so important because, as you say, they're probably going to encounter a difficult period during the season. So getting the points on the board early is vital, especially when you consider that most people probably had them down to be in a relegation scrap this year. So I think they'll probably be happy. Well, they'll be delighted with their start, but they'd be happy with kind of a mid-table consolidation season. Yeah.
Do you think it could be a worry that Luke Armstrong on loan from Middlesbrough? He's had a good start. I think he's maybe got 4 or 5 goals.
Yeah.
Is the worry that maybe he goes back in January and maybe gets a league club? I don't know what obviously the terms of the deal are. They might have him for the full year.
Yeah.
But if he does go back, is the concern that they don't have that focal point up front and that they're going to struggle to score goals?
Possibly, yeah, because he has easily been their most productive player so far, and kind of a goal scorer at that level is invaluable to a team with aspirations of anything, staying up, going up, mid-table. You need someone who's gonna score you the goals. I think they've got quite a few loan players from the kind of the northeastern and surrounding area clubs, which is, I mean, it's good for them because it kind of provides experience to the players and obviously gives them better quality players that they wouldn't be able to sign otherwise. But also, the worry is that the clubs could turn around and say, oh, we need them back. Mm-hmm. They need to be playing at a higher level now because they've proven themselves at this level. So, I don't know, we've got to hope that Armstrong stays for the full season because of the way he started and almost their reliance on him already.
Dropping down a level, Blyth Spartans, they're in the Conference North, our sole representative really. I know Darlington's in there, but that's probably just a little bit too far. They've started okay, disappointing opening couple of games, defeats against Hereford and loss against Bradford Park Avenue as well, and poor performances in all honesty. And I think Alan Armstrong will have happily admitted that they weren't great, but they bounced back emphatically with an 8-1 win against Chester, who are going to be a promotion favourite. And I think they can take a lot of heart from getting that level of victory. Shows that they can truly play at the level. And I think this year for Blythe, the expectation's got to be again consolidation. Last year, up and around the playoffs most of the season, tailed off at the end. A lot of away games because of postponements. They sort of fell off a cliff, and to be brutally honest. But an 8-1 win, that gives them confidence. They're only winning the season though. They drew against Darlington midweek, and then last Wednesday they drew there and got beat at the weekend. But they've got a few again, a bit similar to Gateshead actually. They've got 2 games this weekend, but both one at home, one local against York City. So could be looking at 4 points there. I mean, what do you think represents a good season for Blythe? Do you think it is mid-table, or do you think they can aspire maybe to be playoffs like they were for a lot of last year?
Well, I think, as you said, they completely fell off a cliff towards the end of last season, and that's got to be kind of from a psychological point of view, that's got to be really hard to take, because for a lot of the season you did think they're almost a shoo-in to get into the playoffs. So I'd say that kind of consolidating their place in the league is the most important thing this year. They've obviously not started particularly well, barring the 8-1 victory. I think if they look to kind of consolidate their position around the mid-table mark,
make sure the R word isn't said.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want to be in a relegation battle, I mean they can definitely push towards the top of the table. I think they've got the quality in that squad to do so. It's just, I
think the struggle for Blythe is for the big non-league clubs. Obviously Gateshead's a little bit higher, so their budget is bigger, but South Shields are in their player pool, and South Shields are throwing money around and probably can double the wages that Blythe are paying players. So it does become a struggle to almost get the good ones in. They've brought in Jamie Holmes from South Shields, and it says a lot that while Jamie Holmes is a great player and he does look fantastic for Blythe, he was a fringe player at South Shields, and that's what Blythe are looking at. And you do worry how difficult it's going to be with South Shields on your doorstep, literally throwing money at it. You got Darlington, Logo, a lot of the players could go there. Even ones like York City, they've just sacked their manager. Could they be looking at Alan Armstrong? Possibly. And it is a bit of a worry, I think, for Blythe that their player pool that they used to have probably a monopoly on, in all honesty, they might not anymore, because South Shields just keep throwing money at everything.
Yeah, I think So obviously the players they've got now is kind of the bulk of the squad's been there for a while, and you worry about the next generation beyond that. They may not have the same loyalty that the kind of the players currently do.
Dale.
You can't really replace a Robbie Dale, and youngsters coming through in the North East now may look at South Shields as a more attractive proposition. You can't really blame them for going to the club that's going to pay them more money, because ultimately at that level it's their livelihoods. And so it's going to be an interesting year for Blyth, I think, if they can kind of keep themselves afloat in the league and then look to build on that again next season. But yeah, I think keeping Alan Armstrong as well is vital to their kind of
the
aspirations.
South Shields, I'm having a look, and just trying to get the results up, but it seems that they've only played one game. That can't be right.
No, I think their league did start quite late compared to some others.
So they have only played one game.
Yeah, I think that is right. Because I know.
See, I'll be honest, South Shields isn't my. Oh no, they played two. They played Witton Albion and Cleethorpes Town, which they got beat.
Beat by Cleethorpes and beat Witton Albion.
Yeah, so.
And
the final pre-season. Okay, so they've only played one game.
Okay,
so that's surprising. See, I mean, South Shields isn't a club that I frequent. Just simply geography for me. Often I'm normally at Blyth or Sunderland, so
too many clubs in the North East you can't
too
be
many.
in.
Yeah, but 1,700 there. Obviously we do all hear about South Shields.
Yeah,
because they probably are at the minute the non-league club in the North East that has the most money, that has the most interest. Had players like Julio Argyle, and they have signed Michael Richardson, who has actually left now, but he was there last year. Matty Patterson. They have had big name players. Do you think this year the aim is again promotion for them? It'll be back to back pretty much for them. Just keep jumping up them levels.
Well, I know that they'll definitely have aspirations to go up this year. They've kind of, as you said, they've got the money backing them to do so and attract the players that are going to get them out of that division. It may be easier said than done. Obviously, they've got a 100% record from their one game so far, so that's a positive start. I think it's just going to take a few weeks for us to kind of for us to see really where they're at in that league and see what the other teams around them are doing.
I mean, they walked the league last year, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and in Graham and Lee, Fenton and Picton, they've got two great managers at that level who are gonna stick with them and keep kind of developing the players and developing the youth system. Now that I know they've kind of invested.
It's Sunderland College as
well. They've invested quite heavily in that, and I think a few of the players made matchday squads last season, so it'll be. Well, hopefully we'll see some young North East talent kind of making inroads at that level.
That would be good. And you're looking at them. Is it a case of where does it stop for South Shields? I mean, what do you think the aim is at the club now? Because they keep growing. The crowds are getting bigger. They probably do need to do a little bit with the stadium eventually, but it does seem like it's just constantly snowballing together. Do you think they will suffer though with Sunderland doing a bit better?
Yeah,
will the crowds dip?
I mean,
still 1,700 there, but.
They probably benefited last season from the kind of disillusionment of Sunderland fans and Newcastle fans as well, in that if they're not kind of enjoying the football they're seeing at their clubs, because obviously Sunderland had a disastrous campaign and Newcastle's wasn't much better. I know they obviously stayed up, but it wasn't
10th, but they were in the relegation
exactly,
sort of battle.
And a lot of people will have kind of lost interest due to Mike Ashley, and if you see an attractive club down the road playing fantastic football and winning games every week, it's only human nature for them to go and check it out, and I think a lot of them have stayed, and so I mean, I think there's potential for kind of fans who can follow both teams. I know obviously you follow Sunderland and go to Blyth regularly as well, so it's not a case of one or the other.
You can do both, can't you?
Exactly.
You've got to keep an interest. I mean, I think it's almost sensible with the quality of non-league clubs we have up here that you would follow a non-league club in a Premier, well, not Premier because obviously Sunderland not there anymore, but one of the bigger league clubs. It does make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. In terms of where South Shields can kind of get to, though, that's where it gets a bit interesting, really, because you feel like with the investment they have got, there will be a ceiling that they hit eventually at some point. but it's just where that
I think it's going to be hard to get any further than the conference, isn't it? I think that's where the budget changes. So you have to go full time. If you go into the league, you have to be full time. You can't get in the conference and be part time. But the ground regulations change. Everything about it will have to change if they were to get the conference. Conference North, again, they probably still will have to invest in the ground.
Yeah, but I think those conversations have probably happened.
Yeah, and they'll know what they need to do, and they are gearing towards that. You can see the investment they've put in the squad. They obviously do want to go up this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason they're pumping this money in, and that is to kind of take them as high as possible. Yeah. And I think those conversations, will have happened about the ground going full time, stuff like that. So I don't know. It's going to take a few years, I think, for us to kind of reach that point where decisions have to be made. But it's definitely exciting for the fans of South Shields and fans of North East football to see a team doing so well. And obviously, this is the first season they've not had Julio Arca for a while.
He's been there for about 3 or 4 years, maybe.
And it's good to see actually that the crowds have kind of stayed at a good level for that first game without him, because a lot of the time people will have been coming to watch Julio Arca play football.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think
it probably made sense for Arca as well. As he ages and the club goes further up, it's going to be harder for him.
Yeah, definitely. You can't blame him, because he'd retired years ago and then came back and played for, was it the Willow Pond?
Yeah, and
then he ended up at South Shields, and he's obviously been their star man for a few years. So I think you can be very proud of what he's achieved with South Shields.
And he loves the North East.
Yeah.
Like, I remember if you watch the early videos of him moving to Sunderland, and then walking on Seaham Beach and stuff, and you do think, he has stuck here. I played for Middlesbrough, I played for Sunderland, and that was it. And then he stayed here. So I think he is an honorary Mackem, an honorary Northeaster.
Yeah, and he's been fantastic with our students as well over the years, because obviously he's such a high-profile individual that we've had people interviewing him almost monthly, I guess, for SportsByte and other kind of projects. So we have to say thank you to Julio for everything he's done over the years, and hopefully he'll still be a part of South Shields.
I'm sure he'll be at Sunderland. I mean, probably one of the things he's missed is probably actually going to Sunderland and Middlesbrough games. Yeah,
so I'm sure we'll see him in the stands at some point this season.
Yeah. Down in the director's box. Quick little roundup of the Northern League. Blyth FC currently top.
100% record.
Yeah, which you've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, can't do much better than that, can you?
No, and they're currently playing in Ashington.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at the minute, because they've had issues with I don't know anything more beyond they've had a few issues with their ground, but they are playing in Ashington at the minute. But yeah, top of the league. I think that obviously you can sort out some of the off-pitch issues, but it's a good start for them. Any of the other teams in there that catches your eye? Hebden Town have apparently got a bigger budget this year. Probably.
They made a positive start. They're undefeated still. Yeah, there's six teams there that haven't lost yet. Blyth have got 100% record, and then Bishop Auckland and Concert have also not lost but have played one game fewer. Just looking there at Bishop Auckland, they've scored 12 times in their 3 games as well, only conceding 3, so that's an impressive start. Looking a bit further down at the kind of the Sunderland based teams, Sunderland RCA have made a mixed start.
Poor start, really. 3 points from 3.
3 points from 3, not ideal. And then that's the same for Seaham Red Star as well. And
Whitley Bay and North Shields both struggling down there as well.
Yeah, and then Ryup, Colliery Welfare have lost 3 of their 4 so far. So those 3 teams will be looking to kind of turn around their fortunes, but it's a long season at that level, and as we've seen over the years,
it's everything comes together. Say a player goes up a level or two,
anything can change.
It's a bit of a roller coaster season. Results at the weekend: Whitley Bay lost 2-0 against West Auckland. Sunderland RCA lost 3-2 at home at Dunstan, which I'm sure they'll have been upset to have lost that one. North Shields lost against Blyth FC. Hebden Town drew 2-2 against Stockton. So, in terms of the North East sides, not really a great weekend, to be honest, for results.
No, it's but as we say, early days in that division so far, so we could see a complete turnaround in some of the North East teams' fortunes, and hopefully we will. Yeah,
and then looking at the attendances, we're looking at about, most of them are healthily in the 200s, some of them in the 300s. So
how did Ryup get a game with 0?
I don't think they did. It's because I think that just the statistics wrong.
Oh, right.
The Wearside League, looking down there, I mean, one of the things that upsets me about the Wearside League is seeing like reserve teams in there.
Yeah.
Upsets a little bit.
Yeah, it's not.
I don't know why. I think it's because I like the purity. I would hate to have B teams in the Premier League, having B teams lower down the level. But at the minute, it's Wolverhampton FC who are top 5 straight wins for them.
Impressive.
15 goals and none against. So that's
very impressive.
Yeah, good stuff for them. Bottom is Coxo Athletic FC, but they've only played 3 games. So yeah, that pretty much sums up a roundup of the North East non-league. And obviously I've got discussions about Sunderland as well. So I suppose we'll best sign off and get this uploaded for you all to enjoy.
Yes.
So thanks, Chris, for coming in, and I've been Connor, the new editor or co-editor currently of SportsByte.
Cheers.